We have an ROKR Magic Cello. It is AMK63. A1, A2, A3, A11, A12, A17, and 2 E12s. It doesn't look like there's any sand or anything here, but we need to pay attention to printed versus non-printed sides. So we're going to take the E12s and they are going to go like this. See how they're set there? The A17 is going to go here. And it fits right up in this little groove here. And I'm going to do the same thing over here. Okay. Next, the A1 goes on, and you'll notice that there's a larger size and a smaller size. The smaller size goes under the adjacent to the A17. Also, on the E12s, there's a printed side and a non-printed side. So as we hold it like that, the printed side on both should be towards us. So that means on this side here. See the print there and the print there? So the A1 will go here. Next, the A12 will go on. And the A12 has a hole in the middle. And now we're going to put the A3 on. Now the A3 is going to go on, but the print side needs to face down, so that way it can be seen. The A11 is going to go on the top side. So we have the A showing on the bottom, and then the A11 is going to go on the top side. Of course, we have the smaller holes and the larger holes, which for the smaller connector and the larger connector. Okay, and next we're going to put the A2 on there and make sure the printed side faces out so you can see it. So, I presume this is some sort of a tool, but we have a B side and an A side where it says 2 millimeter, 4 millimeter, and there's a star there. On this side, we have 9 millimeter and 11 millimeter. F3, P13, P11, D3, F15, E15, E21, E28. We also need this tool that we made previously with the B side up. Let's see the B on there. So it looks like we need to do some waxing here. D3 needs to be waxed on the top. The E15, the gearing needs to be waxed. Okay. And now the E3 or the E28 needs to be waxed. It looks like it needs to be waxed here. Around this hole and on the inside of the hole. This needs to be waxed here, and this needs to be waxed as well, along the top and then on the inside as well. Looks like this little piece needs to be waxed on the top side as well. We'll put a little wax on it. So the first thing we need to do is put the P11 into the 11 millimeter hole, and then we're going to put this in there, and we're going to force that down in there. Okay, B side, 11 millimeter hole. Okay, now the E28 goes on next. We're going to put this hole into here like this. Next goes the E21, the E15, next is the F15, and finally the D3. Three P11s, two of them go on top of this. So we're going to put that on there like that. And then we're going to put the text on here down, and we're going to use this center hole to push it all the way down. Like that. It says we put another one on there. Do the same thing. That looks, it's tight. That'll loosen up over time, I presume. Now, we put a P11 into the 9 millimeter hole, this top one, and we're going to take the bottom of this and we're going to push that into that hole using the bottom side of this to push down on it. And you push until it bottoms out. And when that's all done, it'll look like that. So we have two P11s. We wind up with two P11s on this side. There's 1, 2, and two P11s on this side, 1 and 2. There's a slight bit of the metal rod sticking out the end here. There's more over here. And it does spin a little bit. A22, E2, E3, E4. It looks like we need to wax this area here, down this bottom part of the E2. Also, you'll note one side has writing on it or print on it, the other side does not. The E4 needs to be waxed. Okay. So we have the E2 with the printing on the top. This goes down from the top. The E3 goes on there like this through here. So these central holes here should align like that. The E4 should go like this, so that the gears, so that these match up with the center hole, and the gears are going to point essentially up so that it looks like that. We need a P11, a P13, P21, P17, one, and then we need the two pieces we created earlier, and then the tool needs to be on the B side. So we're going to take the P11 and it's going to go into the 9mm hole. And we're going to take the P13 and put that through. Okay. Now it says that the E21 needs to be waxed on the outside. Okay. Looks like it needs to be waxed on the top and the bottom, maybe. So now this assembly is going to go through this hole here, like this. The E21 goes on next. Next goes the P17, like this. This assembly goes on next, and it goes through the center hole. Kind of pointed over like that. Next, we need this P11, and it's going to go on top of here to hold that whole assembly together. So what we're going to do is just try to get this a little bit started. And then we're going to take this tool, and one side has this little divot in it, and we're going to use that to push it down. Now, it also says this piece needs to stay in. So we're not going to remove that just yet. Two A24s, E18, E16, and E19. It says that the E18, the gears need to be waxed. E16, it looks like it needs to be waxed around the perimeter. And also the top needs to be waxed. Then the E19 needs to be waxed on just the outside. So the A24s are going to go through the E18, and it says you need to pay attention to how they go in. It looks like this little side part here needs to go to the outside when they're put in, so it'll go in like that. And then put the other one in, and it's going to do the same thing. Now the E16 goes on next. And I'm going to hold these with my finger to make sure that they don't push through. Next, the E19 goes on. Again, I'm going to hold my fingers on the back side against these so they don't push through. E5, E17. Now we have to wax the gear portion on E17. And then the E5 looks like it gets waxed all the way around. Okay. So we're going to kind of hold this to the side like this. And we're going to try to align this to match how the picture has it. There's a little arrow on this gear, and you get a general notion of where it should go, about like that. Then the assembly we did earlier comes up through here like this. That should be waxed because we've waxed that earlier. Then that goes through. The E5 goes on top of that. And I'm pushing up the bottom here from these to make sure the pieces go through there are nice and tight. And then this piece with the printed on part goes towards the gear. You should see the printed part. Now that should turn which it does. It's a little stiff, but it will loosen over time. Now I'm going to put it back to the position. Which is about there. Three A21s, A19, and an E26. The A19 gets waxed on the top. We'll wax the side real quick too. Wax the bottom. And then the E26 gets waxed on the sides. Now, we take these three, and it says that these little protrusions here should go towards the inside. So we're going to take this gear, and we're going to put that up through there. Inside. Like that. I'm going to do the second one. And then we'll do the third one. And then the E26 goes down on top of those. Now there's larger and smaller holes on the E26. I'm using the larger ones in this case. I'm using my thumb to make sure that these don't slide out through, make sure they don't push out. E6, E25. So we'll wax the E6. And we're going to wax the E25 as well. Okay. So this is going to go up through this hole. The E25 goes on next. Okay. Now, the next part is to put the gear on. You'll notice there's a printed side of the gear, and there's a triangle right here, and on this gear there is a triangle. Now, according to the instructions, these two triangles should meet. So we're going to do that, and we're going to put this piece in there such that they meet. We're going to check that before we push it all the way down. You can see the two triangles right here and here, and we have them meeting. So I was pushing up on this bottom while pushing this down to make sure everything is seated okay. And then it says that these I should be able to turn this. And it does seem that I can. Now, just to make everything come together, I'm just going to make put the triangles back together again. Like that. And this entire assembly is listed as A. In the assembly, it looks like this is over on this side, like that. Two E10s, E13, E11A, two F6s, E11B, four P5s, and it says to use the small screwdriver. And we have two C10s, which it says to be careful of when extracting them because apparently they'll break easily. So the first E10 we're going to hold like this, and it looks like the E13 is going to go like this. And it's going to go from the top down. So the back side of the E13 goes into this slot here, and then it goes into here. It was kind of, be careful pushing this one in because it feels like it could break pretty easily. Then this E10 is going to go in the bottom here like this. Just kind of be careful. And it's going to look like that. Next, we're going to put in the E11A, and that's going to go holding it like this from the top down into here. Next, the F6s we're going to slide it in here. And then that's going to go slide up like that. Slide up like that. And then the other F6 is going to go in the same way. And then when it's done, it should look something like that. Now, the E11B goes in from the opposite side of the E11A. So that's going to go in from this side because the E11A is on the other side. And that's going to get pushed into the F6. I presume it's there to stabilize it. Like that. Next, we're going to take the C10, and based on the orientation, it looks like we're going to hold it like this, so that this kind of bends down and away. That, make sure these round parts are on top, and then that's going to go in here like this from this side. And we're going to put these screws in here. 2 right here. Now I haven't tightened that one down all the way. I am leaving it a little loose. That way I can make some fine adjustments. Also, I want to kind of make sure that it's right before lined up before I tighten it all the way down. Also want to make sure the orientation is correct. So it looks like this. This curve is towards the bottom. This is on top, so that looks good. So before I tighten those down, you can see they're still loose in there. I'm going to put this side in, and it's going to fit in the same sort of way. Okay. Okay, once again, check everything. That all looks pretty good. So now we'll tighten them down. Now, you definitely don't want to over tighten these. So I'm barely snugging them. Okay, and that's it. And then they should fit like that. A28. So it looks like we need to flip this over so that these round parts are pointed down. And this piece needs to go here, but pay attention to the side with the little hole in it, this side. That, if you're holding it like this, will point towards you, and this needs to go on there like this. Okay. So when that's done, it should look like that. C2 and D10. Now these need to be waxed. Also, this one, the D or the C2 needs to be waxed. It looks like it needs to be waxed. The gears need to be waxed, and then the inner part needs to be waxed as well. Now it also says that there's a printed side and a non-printed side to this. So we want the printed side to face up as we do this. Also, the patterns must match completely. And we'll take a look at that. And then we're supposed to wax this inside part. The D10 goes under with the printed up. You can see the printed part on this outer edge. There's the print there, and then on this one here you can see it as well. So we're going to see if this lines up. That does seem to line up. Let's flip it over just to check to see if we line up that way. So it looks like if the right side is up, it lines up regardless of how it looks, but I bet if we flip it over, now you can see that nothing lines up. So that's how to tell if you've got the right side up, is that it will line up completely. Okay, now we're going to put the screws down in here. Now when you're taking the D10 out, be really careful because it's fairly thin piece. As always, we're not going to tighten that down, so that way we can move this into position. Now we'll tighten it down. We'll just snug it down. I'm not going to make it overly tight because there's not much wood in the D10. So we want to be kind of careful with that. Okay. And that's what that should look like. A4, A15, and 2 A5s. We need to pay attention to which side is printed on. And on this, when we put this piece on, we're going to have to press in a particular spot so that way it doesn't break, or hopefully doesn't break. So first we need to wax the A4, which is this one. Needs to be waxed on the inside. Okay. And it says in the diagram that on the A4, the print part needs to be facing down. The blank part should be facing up. Next, on the A15, it says we need to wax this center hole and also wax around the edge of the hole just a little bit. Okay. Now, on the A15, print up. The A4, print is down. They're going to slide together like this. And we're going to align these notches and these notches. Then we're going to take the A5s and we're going to put it in, well, we're going to say there's a top and a bottom. It looks like it's symmetric, so I don't see that there's a difference, but we're going to use the bottom and we're going to put it in, and it says only to push down here. Don't push up here because I'm sure it'll break, kind of like that. So we're going to do the same thing on the other side. You'll see my finger is only at the bottom. I didn't have it quite aligned there. Now it is. Okay, so there we go. P13, which is the 30 millimeter. And then we need 2 P11s. And we're going to need our pressing tool here. And we are going to use the A side. And we're going to use the 4 millimeter hole, which is the one in the center. So what we're going to do is put our P11 into the hole. It's hard to see in there. You can see it's kind of shiny. Then we're going to put the metal rod in there, and we'll press it down until it won't go any further. Okay, and it'll look about like that. Next, we're going to use the star of the A, that there, and we're going to put that into the star hole. We're going to then hold it with the A15 side up. It's got this design on it here. And we're going to put this post, this axle, into this hole here. So it's going to look like this. Like that. Then we're going to put this on top of here. And we're going to press that all the way down. Now, it looks like the best thing to do is to have this to that orientation so the A is upside down. That way it won't interfere with this piece here. So we're going to go back into the star, push that all the way down. We're going to use this front side that's printed on, and we're going to put that down. And then we're going to push that, carefully push that down once it gets aligned properly, which I haven't done yet. Let's turn this a little bit so I can see a little better. Okay. Put the A side down, or put it in the star, and then we're going to finish pushing it down. And it'll look like that. You can see this pressed up in there, and this one is sitting on top. Two P11s and a P12, which is 25 millimeters. We're going to use the A side, and this time we're going to use this 2 millimeter hole up here. So we're going to put that in there, and then we're going to press this into there. And that'll look like that. It's pretty much flat on the bottom. Next, that post is going to go through this hole that's next to the A15, that's next to the printing A15. So we're going to do that. Then that is going to get pressed on top of that. And then that's going to look like that. P11, P17. This is a spacer that we're going to put in here. So it's going to go, and we're going to need this gear here. So the gear goes on like this. So on this gear, the C2 is on the top and the D10's on the bottom. So it goes on there like that. Then we put a P11 on top of that. Now you'll notice I have not pressed that all the way down yet. And that's because I have to get that spacer in there. So the spacer is going to go between the gear and the P11. So now what we're going to do is press that down. Just like that, and you can see the spacer here. Now the gear won't turn very easily, and I believe that's because that spacer is there. Once that gets pulled out, it will probably move much freer. P11, A16. So what we're going to do is I'm going to put it back here on the 2mm part so it doesn't, nothing presses through. And that's on this post it's setting on. This piece I'm going to put in, based on the picture, it looks like it's going to go in there like this. So I'm going to set that down there like that. And then on top of that goes the P11, and that's going to get pressed on. Now you'll see me use this little part. It's so I can see the post, and this is only to get it started. See, then I come back with the tool, the center part of the tool, which is what the directions say to do, to press it fully into place. Now the next thing it says to do is remove that spacer. So we're going to remove the spacer. And it says this should move smoothly. And it does. It also says that these A5s that we had put on earlier were just stabilizers. So at this point, it says that we can remove those. And then after those are removed, we're still going to make sure that everything turns okay, and it does. P11. So on this assembly here, I think it's A, I missed putting a P11 on here. So we're going to correct that now. It needs to go into the A side, the 4mm hole, and then we need to press that down until it bottoms out. So I did miss that earlier. I'll make a note. E20, and it needs to be waxed around the outside. And what we're going to do is insert piece A, which is this one, onto piece B, which is this one. Now, it looks like B should be such that this curvature is down, these circular pieces are up, the spacer should be towards this end, and it's going to go on here, these nubs here, here, and here. So there's 6 connection points that it's going to have to make. This goes down through this hole here, like that. And then we've got to try to get this on there as carefully as we can. That one there is going to be a little tough. Okay. Okay, we're making some headway. Now we're going to come over this side, align it up. I'm pretty much using my fingernails here, so I'm not doing a lot at one time. You can see here it's not quite fully seated yet. Now it is. This top set seems to be seated nicely. This set here is not seated fully yet, so we're going to do that now. That looks pretty good. And then these top ones here, as you can see, are not fully seated yet. So I'm going to work on them now. Still a little bit more. Okay. Now the E20, which we waxed on the outside, is going to go on here. You'll just pick 3 of the holes for it to slide into, and then I pushed it all the way up as far as it'll go. And in the end it looks like this. P13, which is a 30mm axle or shaft, 2 P11s, and an A20. So we're going to use the B side of this time, and we're going to put a P11 into the 9mm hole, which is this top one up here, and we're going to take this and press it into place. Okay, so it looks like that. There's a short end and a long end on the each side of the P11. We're going to flip it over so that the longer part is down, and that's going to go into the 11mm hole. Now, what we need to do here is we're going to use this slot here to set the depth of the next P11 we put in. So we're going to put the P11 on top. Then we're going to use this slot to get the appropriate depth. So it'll go in there like that when I push on it. And then that'll bottom out, and it'll look like this. There, that's better. You can see the shorter and the longer. Now we have to flip it again. Now this is so that the longer side is up. That's going to go through this hole. And remember, these gears are on top. So we're going to push that up through there. And then the A20 is got this hole in it, and so it's going to go in like this, such that the hole is towards this side here, and we're going to push that in there like that. Now make sure to catch that axle there. Like that. Okay, so now this whole piece is going to fit onto here. And so orientation, how it's oriented on the picture, is like slightly like that. This part goes up here. Again, these are up. And the parts that we're going to hit here are, these are going to go here. These two here, oh, let me flip this over so you can better. These two will go here. These two will go here. These two will go here, and this will go through this hole here. And this post will go through here. So we're going to get that set up first. Then we need to make sure the gears align. There we go. And then we're just going to press that into place. Make sure I got that right. Yep, that looks about right. Again, press it in slowly. We get each of them started a little bit, and then come back and just press them to their appropriate depth. You don't have to do it all in one press. I don't, which I find makes it easier for me. Okay, this seems to be tilt a little bit, so we're going to press that down. Perhaps I pushed on it a little too hard. So what I've done is made sure that that A20, which is right here, is parallel to this. So that way it should turn easier. See, these are through that hole. It's flat here and here and back here. So now it says that I should make sure that these gears turn, and they do turn. They're a little stiff, but I believe that's because the spacer's in here. So I'm just going to leave that in there for now. But it does turn, so I'm happy with that. C9, F7. The F7 needs to be waxed on the outside. Now, the C9, or the F7, goes on first. We need to flip this over, and it's going to go on here, on these three pieces here. And there's larger holes and smaller holes. It looks like we're going to use the larger ones in this case. Goes down like that. Now, the C9, it says goes on, the blank side goes up. You can see some arrows there. So we're going to flip that over, and it's going to go on like that. Now at this point I don't see that it's held on. With anything. So it goes down like that. Three P7s, which are 25mm screws, and one F14, and it says we need to wax the cogs of the F14. Now it says also with the P7 screws that we should use that recommend using the larger screwdriver. So that's what I have set out there, and we'll go ahead and use that here. Now this is supposed to go down on these. Again, I would use the larger holes. It's got different size holes on it. I would use the larger. Okay, now it says we're supposed to put these screws in here. And then we're supposed to tighten them down. I want to try and make them as vertical as possible, it says. You can see the screws are coming through right down here. Okay, now it should look like this. The screws look like they come up into here. It's kind of hard to see. You should be able to see them down in here. And then they should be flat. The head of the screw should be flat on there. F11 and P11. We need to use the A side of this, and we're going to use the one with the star. And what we're going to do is this shaft here comes out here, and we're going to put that in the A, the star. The A side but the star. That's going to go there. So we're going to hold that. Next, the F11 goes on, and then the P11 goes on top of that. And that's got that. Okay. P14, P11. Now, what I think I'm going to do is put this into the 2mm hole on the A side and then press it down that way. Okay, because it's flat on the bottom. Next, it says this is going to go from the bottom up through this hole here. And it should probably just push all the way through like that. And it sticks out the top there and down on the bottom. P11, which is going to go on this shaft right here. This one. And to prevent this from pushing through, I'm going to put that in the 2mm on the A side. And then we'll put this on here. And then it says to use this. It says to use this cutout side here to push this down. Okay. Two A18s. These are fragile to take them out, and they're fragile when you put them on, so really be careful with these. On other puzzles, I have broken these before and had to glue them. In this case, at least there's a spare, but be real careful with these. Now, it indicates that the star should be towards this end, so you can see the star right there. And it looks like it goes to the outside. So what we're going to do is we're going to start on this side here, and we're just going to get this started in here. And we're going to put the first one in this hole up here. Like I said, we're just going to get it started. And we're going to go to the next one. Just get it started. These bends is where, if it's going to break, that's where it's going to do it. Let's push this one down a little bit more. So as you do these, if you take your time, it should be fine. And we'll come back and we're going to press them down. That side looks pretty good. So now we'll do the same thing on the other side. Star out and up towards this part. Ah, see? They break really easily. So we're going to take that out and try not to break it any further. Push up from the bottom here, because we may need to glue that one if I break the other one. This is the spare A18. I may have been trying to force a little bit too quickly, so what we're going to do is just get that started. That one started. That one. Okay, we'll just keep going. Oh, that went in a little too far. So we're going to pull that back out just a wee bit. Give me a little more room over here to bend this. Okay, now we're going to come back. You can see how I don't have it seated down all the way. So we're going to make probably several runs through here. That one there isn't quite in. Okay, let's go to this one. Okay, so it's just that one. And there we go. Okay, now that's going in. Just little bit by little bit. Now we're running back. We're starting to get it seated down all the way. And when you're pushing on these, you need to make sure you're pushing straight down. The force needs to be perpendicular to the base. Okay, that's what it should look like when it's done. So we're going to set this piece up here for now. As of now, we don't need to glue it. However, we're going to keep it because we're not done with this yet. A13, A14. Now the A14 has A14 printed right there, but the A13 has designs printed on it. So that's how you can identify the two. So the A14 is going to go on first, and it's going to go on here like this. Now, one of the things that it says is that we may need to use a screwdriver to help align these, and this hole here is going to go over this axle here. Like that. And then, as you can see, I don't know if you can see, but these they're not aligned very well here. So what I'm going to do is try to come in and pull it over to get that one started. Okay, that one is started. And we're going to move to the next one. To there, to here. So we're going to move to this one now. Like that. And all I'm doing is shifting it just a little bit. Let's see here, that one is not lined up. So we're going to shift it just a tiny bit, just enough to get it started. Let's see if I can get a better image. There we go. So then we're going to push this side in just a little bit better, but not fully in yet. And we're going to come down this side. That one went on. This one is not on yet. Okay. This one's going to be a little more difficult there, but this one is the one that's out. This one here, you can see it's way out. You can see my tool under it. So that one we're going to get in there and push it over. Let's see. There, we got that one. This one needs to be pushed over a little bit as well. Okay. Push that one over. Okay, so now we're going to go through and tighten all these up. Make sure they're seated properly. And here they're not. You can see there's a little gap here. So I'm going to press that down. I'm going to go to the other side and make sure the same thing. Again, here, there's a gap through here that we're going to remove. Okay. And then this goes on top of that with the printed part facing up. So here, again, this hole here is going to go over this axle here. Now this one has fewer parts that have to be pressed in. Basically at the top here and the very bottom. That's all that really needs to be pressed in. And that's what that looks like. So the E3 goes on top of here like this. This hole lines up with this one. The hole here is going to line up with those two. So I think what we're going to do is put the E3 under here first, like that. And see the holes are lined up, and then we're going to take that and put that on the smiley face with the printing up. And that's how that should look. We need a P17, an E21, and a P11. The E21 needs to be waxed. I'm going to wax around the outside of it, the other surfaces too. Okay, so we're going to put this is the axle we're going to be dealing with here, this one. And first we're going to put on the E21, which we have waxed. Next we're going to put on the P17, and we're not going to remove that after this gets installed. I believe it gets removed later. Next we're going to put on this. Now on here you'll notice there's a small circle right there. Let me get my tool here. A small circle right there on that cog. Now that is going to align with the small circle that's right there. So that's going to be put on there, and they're going to align. So what we need to watch for is two things. The triangles should be aligned on this side, and the small circle should be aligned on that side. Then we're going to put the P11 on top, and then it says we should press it down with this. Now it says we should be able to turn these gears a little bit to make sure they turn, and they do. So I'm not going to turn them too much because we have these spacers in here which are going to make them a little harder to turn, but they do turn and everything is aligned. We need the two A5s, two P11s, and two P13s. So what we need to do is turn this over, slide this tool out, and then we'll set this down. What we need to do now is I'm going to use the A side, and I'm going to use a 2mm hole, and we're going to press this axle into there. And that one looks good. And we're going to do the next one again, the 2mm hole. Now these two go into these holes here, and they should press all the way through, and indeed they do. And this one should as well. I had to turn that just a little bit to get that through. Then it says we want to slide this back on, and the blank side should be up. See the arrows? You should not see the arrows when you slide this back down on here. Like that. And I forgot to put the A5s on, so let's put the A5s back on. They go on that side there. And then it's also going to go on this side over here. And they fit on there quite nicely. Need 4 P11s. These P11s are going to be placed on this shaft and this one. Now it says we can hold them from pushing through with this piece here, so you want to put pressure on that as we're putting these on. It also recommends working on just one at a time. So we're going to get that one on there, and we're going to push that down. Let me get the next one started. Now I'm using my thumbnails to do that. I'm not sure I would recommend that, but definitely hold that. So let's see here. Okay, that was a little harder to do. So okay, be careful when you do that. You don't want to do what I just did, and that was my finger caught on that, so be careful with that. Okay. Okay, we're gonna okay. And then that's what that'll look like. For A27s, the orientation of these matter when we install them. E27 and E22. So the print side, the side with the printing on it, goes up. These are going to be pushed up from the bottom, and this little notch here, this one right there, needs to go up when it's held vertically, and that little notch will point towards this inside part. So it's going to come up from the bottom. Let's work on a center one first. So it'll go in there like that. Little notch towards the back. So now we're going to put the rest of them in. And then this part, again, the printed side, is going to come from the printed side down, and there's a longer and a shorter leg. The shorter leg goes into here, like this. Now this one you're going to have to be careful of because it's very likely to break. So what I'm going to do is only push on this side, but I'm not going to push a lot. Okay, now I got to start being careful. And as you can see, the pieces are pretty much flush with the surface of the E27. And then that's going to drop into these 4 holes here and this one back here. So we're going to get the 4 started first. This one needs to move over just a tiny bit. Okay, there's those 4 started. Now we're going to get this end one started. See how they're not pushed all the way in? None of them are. So now we're going to start pushing down on them. And there we go. Four P8s. It says they're rivets with, they're basically rivets, and they don't have threads, but they do have a spot on the top that's larger than the whole rivet. A6, A7, A8, A9, and A10. C8 and E24. Now on these it says we need to use the B side, and we're going to use the center hole here for this. So we're going to take this piece, and we want the printed side to be up, and next this piece is going to go on, and it's going to go on there like that. so it matches the contour of the piece below. And then we're going to take each one of these and put them in their spot, and we're going to have them match each of the pieces in here, how they look. So we're going to take A6 to start with. And it's going to go, it's going to go in here like that. So let's get that started. Okay. I'm going to push that through here with this. Okay, now it's not all the way through because I want to get it onto here. Now we need to push that around so that it matches the contour of the piece below. And then we push it in like that. Okay. Now once that goes in, it does not, looks like these pieces would be very hard to get out. So again, we're going to put the next one. But we're going to do this. We'll move on to the next one. So according to the directions, it looks like it goes on there like that. This one's going to go like this. The last one goes on like that. Now this goes on here. These holes here will go here, here and here, and this back two will go back here. Put them on slow with even pressure. I almost started pushing up here, but you don't want to do that because it bends, so make sure you're pushing on these right across this line here. Well, it's an imaginary line, but E7, 2 E8s, 4 E9s, and an E14. There is on the E8s, there's a printed side and a non-printed side. We want the printed side to be up, and we're going to start with this lowest hole first and work our way up from there. We're going to put a E9 to hold this into place. Next, we put in the E14 like that. And put an E9 on there. Then we do another E8, which is this one, printed side up again.
Getting windy out there.
Putting in the E8. And then we're doing the E7. Two A25s, two A26s, and a P10. Now, when we're putting these pieces in, there's a R right here. The R should be face up. So the R should be readable. There we go. So this goes up through here. Like that. This goes on there. To install this piece, there's several things we need to make sure of. So this piece is going to go across these three pins. You can see them there, these three right here. Like this. Now, it says that we need to make sure that the triangles here, down here, and the circles here are engaged properly. Based on the diagram, it looks like it's about like that. This is going to go on top of there, and so this cog here, the very first one on this side, it's really hard to see. Let me get that off of here. This cog here, the one that's here on the right hand side, that cog there is going to go on this side of this, on the right side of this little gear cog here. So when it goes together, it's going to look like this. It's going to look like that. Now, the other thing it says we need to make sure of is that the R is readable as an R, and also the arrows here should point down towards the bottom. So that's that piece being on there. Two P11s and the A23. Now, the A23 has some printing around one of the holes. Let me see if I can. See the printing there? So that'll become important here shortly. So the P11s are going to go on the outermost pins. Make sure that mine just came unaligned when it came apart. So again, make sure that the cogs, these low bottom cogs, this is the last one, is on the right side of this first one here. And this one isn't touching at all. So we're going to put on our P11 over here. And it says it should just go down so the top of it is flush with the pin. So we're going to do that with this tool here. And it moves when it's, this should be able to move. Put that on and press it in with this tool. Again, you can hold from the bottom so these don't push through. And they're both in there like they should be. And this piece does move. Now, so it says that on the A23, this part that is marked with the print goes towards the cello scroll. Now this is the cello scroll, I looked that up. So it goes on here like this. And it looks like that. Two P11s and a C5. Now, taking this out, this is really easy to break because there's actually two spares of this. So they must be thinking we're going to break some of them. So, but we're going to put the P11s in first. So the P11 is going to go over this one here on the end. Like that. And then we're going to push it down. Then we're going to push this P11 on. Like that. Okay, and then we're going to push it all the way down. Because the picture shows a little bit of that shaft pokes through. So we're going to do the same thing here. That one I didn't push in real hard. I didn't put a lot of force on it, but it is down in there enough. Now on this one, this is the C5. The print side should be up. There is a larger arrow and a smaller arrow. As it sits like this, the larger arrow should be further away from us up here. The smaller arrow should be back here. Now, we've got to be really careful with this because this piece just looks like it's going to break. So we're going to start this down. Okay, that's started. And we're going to come down here. I'm going to get this piece started. Down here. Okay. And that's it. I'm not going to do too much on that one. And now we're finally supposed to remove the P17, these plastic pieces. So we'll remove that one. And we're going to remove this one. Six C3s, 6 C6s. Again, on the C6s, one side is printed, has some printing on it. And when you place it into the C3, we want that to face up, away from the base. These aren't too bad going in here. And these C3, C6 parts, this combo part, goes into these holes here. So this is going to go down through there. And so as you look down in there, there's a circle or a smaller hole down at the very base. You'll need to align that with the square holes so that way you can push it all the way through. Because it should sink down in there all the way up to this step right here. Okay, that's out. I'll have to fix that. Now, since I took out these pieces, this has become misaligned. So I'm going to move it over, and we're going to try to realign it again. Remember, it needs to, okay. So remember, it needs to be to where this wood part here, it's really hard to see, but this wooden cog here needs to be just to the left of the first plastic cog on this plastic piece. So it also says we can remove this part from underneath it here now. And at this point it says we should be able to, we want to make sure that this can turn. And it does seem to be able to. So what I'm going to do is kind of leave it in the middle so that and there it is. I can turn it. And I keep turning the bottom the same way, and it just keeps picking it up. So I'm going to leave that roughly, I'll leave this one roughly in the middle. So that way it'll be more stable and won't slip out like it did previously. And I believe that is it for the cello part. This whole unit is labeled as C, and again the R should be readable. It's not very readable in the camera, but let's see if we can make it a little better. The R should be readable. And that's it for the cello part. Next we start on the bass. Four P5s, one B9, two B13s, three C1s, two C7s, two C12s. Now the orientation on the instructions show that this side has a hole in it and this one does not. So this one goes on the left and this one is on the right. So we want to put in the C1s first, and the C1s are going to go here, here, and here. So like this, you can see that two of the pieces, or two of these holes, are closer together than the third one. So that'll go in there like that. And the next C1 goes here. And the next C1 goes here. Next are the C7s, which seem pretty symmetric. So the C7s are going to go from this hole to this hole through here. And then the other C7 we'll put in here. Also, the C4, I forgot to mention the C4. The printed side should be up on the C4. Next, we're going to do the C12s. So the C12s look fairly symmetric as well. Okay, next we're going to put in the B13s, and it's going to be with the print side up, and we're going to use, I believe, the small screwdriver for this one. Let's see how that's going to fit. Take a look at the larger screwdriver. Yeah, the larger one will probably work a little better. So, what I'm going to do is put this through here first, and then we'll take this and at least get it aligned in the hole. And then we're going to do the other side. Again, I don't tighten these down until I get both sides started. I'll tighten that down. I'm just snugging it down, really. I'm not making it all that tight. I need to do the same thing to this side. Now this piece has a rounded end. The rounded end needs to be up towards the top. So the question is it best to push it up from the bottom? We're going to try that first, see how that goes. Push it up slow. Now we want this to be flush on the bottom. So what we're going to do is use that and push it up with that. That way it's not sticking at the bottom. Looks like that. Two F1s. You'll see the print side. The print side should face to the outside, and they'll go in these holes and these holes over here, but the print part needs to face out. So on this one, you're going to start the two ends first, as they're slightly longer. That one is in. Now let's put this one in. Don't have the print side out, but want the print side out. Four B12s, and these are going to go into these holes here, and that prevents that from popping up. And it says we can use the tool to press these in. I don't know, I don't think they're that hard, so I'm just going to go ahead and press them in with my fingers. And that prevents these from pulling out. Six B16s, two D1s, two D2s, two D4s, two D6s, two D7s, two D8s, and two D9s. So we're going to start with the D8s. And we're going to put a B16 down through the top of the D8. We'll put three of them through there, like that. Next, we add the D4. Then we add the D1. Next is the D6. D7. And a D9. And the D9 should go on there like this. Now the D9 goes on much more snugly than the other ones, so just keep that in mind. So you'll need to hold the D9 in place while you do that. And it's going to look stair-stepped like that. So next we're going to make the other side, which is going to be the D8 first. And that's going to go down like that. Then next is the D4. I'm going to turn that off of there. So next is the D4. Then the D1. D6. D7. And then the last one is the D9. It's going to go on there like this. Then these pieces are going to go on this side and this side so that the stair steps face out. Let's go ahead and put these in. And then the D2 goes on top of these like this. And when that's done, it's going to look like that. D11, D5, these will be put together like this so that the text faces the inside, like that, when we install that. However, first, we have to take the P18, which is this double-sided tape, and put it starting here around the perimeter on this side over to here, and then on this side we need to do the same thing. So let's go ahead and do that. So what we need to do and then I'm going to take these, and you can't see what I'm doing. So what I'm going to do is peel this back just a bit and cut that off. Then we're going to take this one and we go from, actually we're going to cut that a little differently. We're going to cut it so that it doesn't come up onto this piece here. I'm going to cut it back here just a little bit further back. That's better. Now we're going to take this piece and put it on there like that. Take the next one. Put it next to this one here. Oh, not that one. So these are really thin. So hopefully there's extra of these, because that piece is ruined. So my advice is don't touch the sticky part on the bottom. We'll try again. So what we're going to try and do this time is only hold it from the sides. So holding it from the sides did seem to work way better. So we're going to cut that off. Since I wasted an entire piece, I've got to use every bit of this. So I'm going to use all these little pieces. We'll put that tiny one back on there. We'll put this back on here as well. Okay, now I'm going to put, so it looks like this side, this part here with this little nub on it needs to go to the right. And then the book pages has D5 and D11. D5 is on the right hand side. D11 is on the left hand side. They go together. And then we're going to push these down into here. I think I'm going to be better off pushing these down in there before I start taking off these cover the other side of the double-sided tape, because otherwise I would be getting my hands all over it right now. Now, on this, you're going to want to push these in as far down or as close to the edge as your fingers will go. Otherwise, the part that's been cut will break. So you're going to push that in very slowly. Okay, that's done. So now we're going to work on one side at a time. So I'm only going to take the tape off on one side. Let's see what we got. It's not quite thin enough for what I need. See how these will work out. That worked out. So at this point, I'm just exposing the double-sided tape. I think I'm going to have to get this one from this side. Okay, now we're going to carefully bend this down and you want it, let me get this down, I'll show you on the other side. And when you do this, you want the back edge here to be on this side of the little notch here, so that way it fits smoothly in there. And now we're going to work on this side. Yep, D11. Okay. I'm going to try to bend this down carefully so it doesn't break. Let me see if I can get up here where you can see what I'm doing. Oop. With this. So we're bending it over. And we want it on the other side of there. See how that's where that is compared to the notch? And just go around pressing in the double-sided tape. And that's how it should look. B19, B21, B22, 2 F8s, and 2 F9s. So we're going to put the F8s and F9s together first. Like that. And the triangles that are on the F9, we'll have to pay attention to that in a little bit. So now the non-printed side of this, as we put these in, should be up. So the printed side should be down. The triangle on there is going to go into this hole. So we're going to put it in there like this. I'm going to press that down like that. Triangle is going to go in there like this. And B21 is going to go on this side with the text up the circle, and that's going to go over here on this side, and you can see that you can still see through that hole there. So the B22 is going to be text up again, and that's going to go on like that, so that that hole there is open. 4 B20s. So what we're going to do is take this and we're going to have the non-printed side up, and these are going to be carefully pressed into these two positions here like this. Now you got to be careful because this is thin and you don't want to break it. So then we're going to come down to the bottom here. And see if we can't press that into there very slowly. Okay. Now we have to press those through. So we're going to do this. Until that bottoms out. And then we take the B20s and we're going to carefully push those through from this side. A little hard on the fingernails. There we are. B17, two C11s. So the B17 is positioned like this, with this notch here off to the left. We'll also have the non-printed side up. So what we have to do is these C11s need to fit in this hole and this hole, with this little nub here off to the left like this. Well, they seem to go in there pretty easily. So they went in there pretty easily. Now, with the printed side down, we need to curl this up and this needs to go into this hole and this hole, but from the other side, like this. We're going to bring this a little closer. Okay. Now you got to be really careful with these. How can I make that so you can see that better? Try to do this one with one hand, or better yet, like this. So you got to be careful not to break the back of the book. Basically, I'm trying to wiggle it down in there as best I can. Two B20s. So what it says we should do is bend this around, and then we need to put these B20s in. I'm going to tip this up a little bit. We're going to put them in here into these holes on this. So I've got to try and keep all this together. So what we're going to do is put the B20 in there like that. I guess you can't see that well. See the B20? So now what I'm going to do is press that down in there. I think I would rather do that with my nail. So what I'm going to do is prop this up so I can bend this back so you can see what I'm doing. Oh, I can't bend it back very much. I'm doing the same thing I did on the other one, basically wiggling that in. It'll look like that when it's done. And then the other one basically comes in from the other side. Just gotta take my time here. Got it started finally. I have more control with my finger on that, so that's what that looks like. B1, B2, B29. Now on these, we want to make sure that the text to the outside. So this one is going to go over here. The B1, the way this is setting here, goes off to the right. And we're going to push it down into these holes here. This one and this one back here. The curl goes, or the rounded part goes towards basically the book's binding, and it will basically wrap around that curved part. Okay. Next, we're going to put this one in here. We gotta kind of be careful on this one too, because I got it upside down. So we want the side with the 3 parts to be down. Trying to get it down into position. Make sure it's flush with the bottom of the book. And this is the last piece. The 2 connectors go down. That's going to go in there like that, and it'll look like that when it's done. Now, this, it says to be careful doing this next part. We're going to take this, bend it down, and we're going to connect it to these 3 points here, here, and here, and that's going to go into, it's under here, but it's right there, there, and then the other one's under there. So that's our goal now. There's that one. At least it's started, as you can see. You come back and push that down on there. And then there's that. B5, B6, B8, B7, B12, F4, F13. So we've got this, and the B12 goes up through here, through the hole in the top, like that. A B12 or B7 goes through this back hole like that. The next one we're going to put on is the B8, which is going to go on there like that. I'm going to get this top one started first, and we'll get this bottom one in here. The next thing to go on is the little hat here. And you want it to align with the pieces behind it. And that piece looks like that. So the cat piece here has printing on it, and we want the printing part to go up so we can see it. So the ears of the cat are on the off to the right hand side. This is pushed in through the bottom, and then the cat, the part of the cat with the printing on it again faces up, and will go on there like that. Now the witch is going to go in this hole here, the cat's going to go in this hole, and they're going to face to the back like this. And it's going to go all the way through and out the bottom. It's going to come out right here. The cat goes in this hole, and it's going to do the same thing. And that's going to come out this hole here. Two B15s. These are going to go into these to hold them in. So Let's see here. It's going to go like this, because according to the drawing, how I'm putting them in, it's on this side of this, and then they're going to go from right to left. I'll put that in there. Like that. That one went in pretty easily. The biggest struggle was getting a line to go through. B18, two B26s. So we're going to take this B18 and we're going to put it down into this hole here, like this. And then we're supposed to turn it this way. And then the B26s go on the sides of the B18. So it goes right down in these holes on the sides. P1, P3. So what we're doing now is just testing to make sure that this operates normally. So that sounds okay. F5, F12, P2, 3 P8s, and 3 P9s. The F5, it needs to be waxed. Now, based on the picture, it looks like the side with the print should go up. So we're going to take the P2 and we're going to attach the P5 or the F5 to it. And I'm going to get the larger screwdriver. I did not tighten that down too tight. Now it says we should put this on here and put it on counterclockwise. Now we have the F12. This will fit on here. Let's see here. This goes like this. This is going to go on here like this. And we're going to tighten them down. Okay. Now, this should fit in here like this. So we're going to put it down in there, and these are going to go into these holes here. We'll put down in there, and then to put it down, and then we're supposed to turn it. We've got it started. So it looks like it's supposed to go something like that. So we're going to wind it just a little bit to make sure that it plays, because there's like some of the tolerances might be a little tight, so sounds like it's okay. Two P6s, B24, B25, B27, and B10. So this is supposed to go on here on the side that's printed. So it looks like these will go together. It says they're put together before they go in, but we made them do them separate. So this is positioned like this. The B24 goes here. And there's the B24 in. Now we're going to put in the B25. You may have to lift that out a little bit. And when you push on this, make sure you support underneath of there with your finger. Okay, there's that one. So it says in the directions that it's probably best to put these in at the same time. That's probably true. So I'd probably connect them, or at least try to put them in somewhere near the same time. Okay, now this piece is going to go on this side, and it looks like it's going to fit. Make sure you have the printed part out towards the outside. These two are going to go here and here. It says that we have to bring them in from underneath of the gear. So that's how to do that. So don't try to bring it in this way. It doesn't work very well. What to do is take it, position it like that, and then bring it in from behind the gear and then turn it. And it'll turn right into place. Now, we're going to try and get this in without breaking it. This one side will be easy because there's plenty of structure there. The other side, though, is going to be a bit more interesting. So let's see here. Can't push down too much on this because that will break. I'm going to push down here with my finger. So I'm pushing down. I'm going to try pushing down right here with my finger while I wiggle this a little bit. Okay, let's try going from the other direction. Let's put this. So we're going to put this one in first. Oh yeah, that works much better. Then over here, I have way more to work with as far as structure. Okay, and that's what that looks like. Well, it still could be down just a bit further. Okay, that's better. P3, E24. So we're going to put this P3 up through here and turn it into place. Now the next thing it says we should do is this should flip up over this, like this. Now this we need to be careful with. These always break pretty easily, so just be careful with it. We'll do that. Now, I'm going to try and get these in here slowly. Okay, let's work on one at a time. So it's not aligned. So what I'm going to do is get in there and pull that over just a bit. Okay, that's started. Okay, let's see if we can get these first. That one started. There we go, we got those two. So that you can see is not lined up. So we're going to line that up a little better. I gotta get that back there stabilized. Okay. We'll work our way around. Okay, we've got one more to go, that one. Really take your time on these. And there we go. They're all done now. Now for the P24, it looks like, as you can see, it's got one side is higher than the other. So it looks like the higher side should go away from the back of the stack of books. So we put it in there, and it should press through the bottom, like that. B15, B11, F2, F10. So the B15 is going to go into the bottom. And it's going to hold this part into place. So we're going to put that through there. The B11 goes on next. So this is important. The unprinted side should be up when we put this on. So what we're going to do is align the holes. That should be like this. And we're going to align the holes like this. So these holes are aligned. So now the F2 is coming in from the back. So now it's shifted to be like this, and I'm shifting it so it matches the diagram. That's going to come in here. And it's going to go through here and down through the hole. Okay, that's not wanting to go down in there very well. I'm just working it little by little. And that holds this piece in. Next is the B10, or the F10, which it's going to go in there like that, with this slanted part here towards the music player. And just wiggle it down in there, and it will settle down. Now we're going to put the cello onto the bass. So looking at this, it looks like this part here is going to go down into here. These will fit into here and here. These will fit into here and here. And it recommends starting with putting this one in first, this one in second. Okay. So this one we have to adjust up a little bit. That side up a little bit. So I got one. Let's get the other one down here. Another one. Oh, and it says to make sure the gears align. The gears wound up being in my way. So as you're putting it on, make sure these gears align or it'll make it much harder. Okay, we need B23, B28, B3, and B4. Now, as we put all of these in, the printed sides need to face out. So we're going to put this one here in first, and that's going to go down in here. So they're seem like they're going to be the hardest to get to. Okay, that one seems to be in. And we're going to, this one is the B28, and it's going to go in right here. It's really hard to hold it up so I can show you. Okay. B3, which is this one, is going to go here into these two holes here. And I'm going to use my finger to support under here because that part's just kind of not very steady, not very sturdy. Okay. So this piece here seems to be easiest if you put it in this side first. Put in this side first here, and because it's got a little more for you to press down on. Not a lot, but a little. And then this side, I think we're going to do the same thing. So it's going to go in this hole, and this hole, and I'm going to start there. Yeah. Let's try and make this a little better. Okay, I gotta hold this with this finger, so. And that's what that looks like. Two B14s. So what we need to do is we have to flip this up over here. So this hole's going to go here. This one here. This one up here. Or this one will go here. That one will go there, and the one on the end is going to go right here, and then the other side is going to go there. So I think I'm going to start pressing it in from this far end first, because that seems to be the part that's moves the most on me. Again, just take your time with this. Okay, there, that's in. So, and I'm starting on those, the very backmost parts first, because they're relatively taller and it's easiest to get those. Basically, what I'm starting with is the little posts on the B28 and the B23 that we had just installed, because they're taller, so it's just easier to get those on first. And also that should help align everything, so that way it goes in. Good. Now I'm going to move up this way. And as you can see, I just kind of roll my finger on it to try and get it started. Okay, what do we got here? Why is that not lining up? So it needs to be pushed out just a bit. So what we're going to do is come in here and pull it over a little bit. And try and support this bottom as best I can. There we got it. Okay, now the B14s, what are going to go on top of these? This post here and this post here. We'll see what we can do if I get my finger in there. That one I got. This one is going to be a bit harder. Then I'm going to take the little screwdriver and use that to push it down. And that's it. And that should be all done. Let's see if it's going to work.